It was 3:30 a.m., and the lobby had been empty for hours when the bell on the front desk rang once. A guest stood there asking for his key, room 214, a room I'd just confirmed was vacant on the system. I handed him the spare key. He walked toward the elevator. The camera never showed him getting in. Before I tell you what I found in room 214, because what's on that floor now still doesn't have an explanation, you need to understand something about overnight hotel work. The night audit shift exists because someone has to be awake to balance the books between midnight and 6 a.m. Almost nobody checks in during that window. It's rare enough that most auditors go entire years without a single walk-in. I'd worked 18 months on that shift. That night was my first walk-in. It was also the last one I ever handled alone. The property's a mid-size business hotel, 4 floors, maybe 90 rooms. Overnight, it's just me at the desk and one camera feed covering the lobby and elevator bank. That's the whole security setup after midnight. I want you to remember that detail. It matters later. The bell rang at 3:30 sharp. I looked up from the audit report and there was a man standing at the desk, mid-40s maybe, wearing a suit that looked slept in, like he'd been traveling a long time. No bag. No car visible through the lobby doors. He said he had a reservation. Room 214. I pulled up the system. Room 214 showed vacant, had shown vacant all night, no reservation on file, nothing booked for that room until a corporate block checking in 2 days later. I told him that. He just looked at me and said, "Check again." I checked again. Same result. Vacant, unbooked. But something made me not want to argue with him. I still can't explain what, exactly. I just remember feeling like the fastest way to end the conversation was to give him what he wanted. So I pulled a spare key, coded it to 214 manually, and handed it over. He thanked me, polite, quiet, and walked toward the elevator. I want to be honest, in the moment, none of that felt as strange as I'm making it sound now. Overnight brain does that. You rationalize things at 3 a.m. that you'd never accept at 3 p.m. What snapped me out of it was checking the elevator camera 30 seconds later, out of pure habit. He wasn't in it. He wasn't anywhere in frame at all. Our lobby has one camera angle, positioned to cover the front desk, the seating area, and the elevator doors directly across from it, maybe 40 feet of open space, nowhere to duck out of frame, no side exits on that side of the building. I know that layout better than almost anyone. I've worked that desk for a year and a half. He walked away from my desk. I watched him walk away with my own eyes. Then I checked the camera, and the footage showed him for exactly 6 steps, and then nothing. Not him ducking somewhere. Not a blur. The frame simply doesn't contain him anymore. Mid-stride, like the recording itself skipped past him. I told myself the camera glitched. I've seen our system drop frames before. Cheap software, nothing unusual about a hiccup. Except the timestamp on the footage never skipped. Every second is accounted for. He's there. Then the very next frame, same timestamp gap you'd expect for normal playback, he's gone. I picked up the desk phone to call the emergency maintenance line, and that's when I noticed the elevator indicator. It showed a car actively moving. Floor 1. Floor 2. It stopped on floor 2. Nobody had pressed a button. I was standing at the only panel that controls dispatch override, and I hadn't touched it. I told myself someone else must have called an elevator from upstairs, a guest, insomnia, wanting ice, something ordinary. I almost convinced myself of that. Then I pulled the room log for floor 2, and room 214 specifically, going back through every stay the hotel had ever recorded in that room. There was no room 214. I mean that literally. I checked the floor plan, the fire evacuation map posted by every elevator bank, the property management system's room list, every single source of record the hotel has. Floor 2 goes from room 200 to room 213, then jumps straight to room 215. There is no room 214. There never has been, as far as any documentation in that building shows. I'd coded a key to a room number that, according to every official record, does not exist. I called my manager at home, half panicked, trying to explain what I'd just done, handed a physical key to a non-existent room to a man who then vanished from camera on his way there. She was groggy, annoyed at the hour, and told me I must have mistyped the room number under pressure. Simple explanation. Happens all the time on graveyard shifts, she said. Except the key I'd coded was still sitting in my hand. I looked down at it while she was talking. The little printed sleeve every key comes in, the one I fill out by hand with a marker, clearly read 214 in my own handwriting. I asked her to stay on the line while I walked the second floor myself, just to put my mind at ease. I walked from room 213 to room 215, the way the numbering runs on every other floor, fully expecting a stretch of blank hallway wall between them. There wasn't a blank wall between 213 and 215, in a space that shouldn't have existed according to every floor plan I'd checked 20 minutes earlier. There was a door. Unmarked. No number plate, no keycard reader, nothing, just a plain door, slightly recessed into the wall like it had always been there, and I'd simply never had a reason to look closely at that stretch of hallway before. I stood in front of it for a long time. My manager was still on the phone, telling me to just come back downstairs, that it was probably a maintenance closet, that I was tired and overthinking a long shift. I didn't try the handle. I want to be clear about that. I never touched that door. I don't know what would have happened if I had, and some nights I'm genuinely grateful I'll never find out. What I do know is that when I checked the hallway again on my next shift, 3 days later, that stretch of wall between 213 and 215 was blank. Solid. Painted the same as the rest of the corridor, no seam, no hinge marks, nothing to suggest a door had ever been there. I still work that desk. I still hand out spare keys when someone asks. But I don't manually code a key to a room number I haven't personally verified on the floor plan first, not anymore, not after that night. And I never work past 3 a.m. without checking that stretch of hallway on floor 2, just to be sure it's still just a wall. Room 214 is still bookable, technically. I just don't hand out spare keys after 3 a.m. anymore. If your job ever gave you a story like this, we want it. The link to submit your story is in the description. Tomorrow, someone else takes the night shift. Subscribe so you don't miss it.